I'm super interested in sexual confidence.
Hmm.
Because there's this thing that I think everybody wants to be more sexually confident. I once did a poll on Instagram and I think everybody virtually said they wanted to be more sexually confident. And I find it really interesting because I think there's a lot of misconceptions, and that's going to be part of the question in a moment. But what's your definition of sexual confidence?
I guess my definition of sexual confidence comes back to courage. So when a client asks me if they can be more confident, if they can become more confident, I tell them that courage leads to confidence. And they'll need to be willing to be courageous, to take action and feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's what leads to confidence. So I think confidence is super overblown. It's made way more complicated than it is. And actually, the best thing we can do is notice what we're fearing doing and take steps to do it anyway.
I love that, because that's like the answer that people really don't want to hear when you talk to them about confidence. They want to hear like, okay, go off and write in your journal for 400 years about all the, wonderful things. And those things can help. People don't write down. Journaling is wonderful. But I've been becoming a bit obsessed with this idea of courage, right? I've been writing about it a lot. I've been talking to my clients about it a lot. It's like, we all want to be courageous. We all want to be seen as courageous, like, as people. But we want to circumvent some way of like, I want to be confident. Yes, people want to be confident. But it's like, like you said, to get to confidence, you have to be courageous. You have to be willing to face some of the things that are actually afraid of. But we're always trying to circumvent the fear to get to the confidence without having to deal with the fear.
Yes, but this is that people want to be confident so they don't have to be vulnerable. And the problem is that if you're sexually confident and you have no vulnerability, there is no true connection. There's no bond. And therefore no meaning inside of whatever it is you're getting up to. And people can have sex and be detached and therefore not feel any fear or sense of exposure or vulnerability or doubt or whatever it is. And they leave unsatisfied. They did not get what they were searching for because they weren't searching for an orgasm. They were searching for connection. They were searching to be seen. And so skipping vulnerability in order to be confident and therefore skipping courage and doesn't lead them where they want to go. And the other funny thing you said about the journaling, yeah, they want to go off and journal. They want to avoid the situation. And the thing about sexological bodywork is that instead of talking about an issue, say a client comes and says, I have premature ejaculation or I have erectile dysfunction or whatever. I'll be like, okay, do you want to get undressed and we can see what happens? Like, let's go into the experience, Let's see what happens. You want to talk about it, but the best way for you to move through it is to face the issue you're afraid of, to go towards a thing that you're worried is going to happen. And that's the best place that I can coach a client from. That's why I can move through an issue like that in a couple of days versus them being at a psychotherapist for a couple of years talking hypothetically and digging around in their past, which I think there is a time and place for that. I think there really is. But we're talking about sex. Sex happens in the body. Sex is a result of following our impulses. And that's the other thing too. What does the word courage mean? It's about the heart. It's about our heart. It's courage is being heart-led. Exposing ourselves, being open, and vulnerability is about being open to wounding. And sex is emotional. I'm sorry, sex is emotional. We want to pretend that it's not. And, individuals who are teaching about sex want to be like, this is how to do it. No, there's no right way to do sex. Okay? Some days we're one way sexually and another days we're another. And we better just show up as we are in our bodies, following our impulses, so that we can have great sex, no matter where we're at. No matter if we spent half the day crying or hiding. Like, I can't think of a situation where I wouldn't, or a place I would be in my life where I wouldn't want to have sex. The only time that place exists is when I am maybe inside of a complex where I'm repeating the same patterns over and over again. And so I need to pause in order to reflect with someone else who can lead me to my blind spots so that I can stop one pattern and start a new pattern. And I do think that's very important. There are a lot of people who are not having sex right now and they think it's an issue because they like and enjoy sex. But what I want them to recognize, well, are you in a place of changing your habits and your patterns? And it's the same in relationship too. They may be at a moment of not having sex because they're working on the relationship and they're changing their habits and patterns and their roles. And so something new is forming and it can't be forced.
And I was kind of
Very
written down,
serious stuff.
yeah, but it's also really important stuff, right? So it's like this courage plus vulnerability. And this isn't an exact equation, but it's like courage plus vulnerability equals confidence because we meet the thing that we are. We have the courage to meet the thing, whether that's something that's sexual or non-sexual. We like open ourselves up for failure, right? Or a mistake or getting it wrong, which is the vulnerability. We have the courage to meet the fear of failure or making a mistake. We take the action in a way that's present, because that's probably also presence was really important. And we meet the experience. And on the back end of that experience, we have had the experience. We've met ourselves with courage. We've experienced the vulnerability and we've moved through the experience with presence. And on the back end, we have confidence because we've seen ourselves overcome fear, tackle vulnerability with presence, not dissociated or not in a kind of performance. And on the back end, we have confidence because we now believe in ourselves and our ability to move through fear and any vulnerability and come out the other side and be like, I'm okay. That went fine. Even if it wasn't perfect, I'm okay. And I was present. And here I am now on the other side of all this with more confidence in that myself, self-confidence, or my confidence to tackle an experience where there's a mixture of fear and vulnerability involved.
Yeah. I mean, I think we make it sound a little bit easier than it is
Oh, yeah, totally.
because the presence is necessary. But so, as in, I'm here and now, and I'm not lost in the past or in the future, either anticipating or avoiding, right? But we also, how do we get present? Well, we have to listen to our bodies. We have to be able to be in our bodies, which means we need to be able to identify and regulate our emotions and the sensations that are surfacing as we move towards the things that we're terrified of, but also really want, you know?
Yeah. A question I have here, actually, I think this is a one I think is important, is like, how do some of the kind of societal narratives that we have or cultural narratives we have, say around aging and motherhood and
Mm.
masculinity, for instance, kind of erode away at our sexual confidence?
I guess the sort of the the quick and dirty answer is that we're constantly being marketed to.
Mm.
We're being shown what a good life is, what a good body is, what a good relationship is, born out of fantasy and consumerism. And we're shown so many images of what our life should be that our systems are flooded. Our imaginations are usurped by the marketing industry. And so it can be actually very difficult for us to be present and notice, I feel really good in my body. I'm actually like the heaviest I've been, the greyest I've been, the most wrinkled I've been, the oldest I've been, you know? There are all these reasons why I shouldn't feel phenomenal right now. But actually, I do. And I would have missed that had I been up in my brain with all of that marketing, comparing myself to how I should be and what my life should look like. But if I can drop into my body and feel, I'll notice I feel great. I feel calm. I feel energized. I feel aroused. I feel content. I feel the things that I'm still yearning for are so close. And all I have to do is take action to get them. But we are taught that we have to look a certain way to be sexy and to be attractive. You know, people want to look good, but looking good and attraction are two very, very different things. And people want to have a life that is attractive, as well as that their bodies and their personality is attractive. And so unfortunately we do get quite distracted. And I think London and the UK in particular, it's a place of ambition. It's a place of um, keeping up with the Joneses, you know? And we have to be careful and be present to what we're seeing and to know that, hey, when we go onto Instagram, we are the product. And to be vigilant against those experiences in order that we stay with ourselves and we are curious and inquire about, well, how am I feeling right now? And it's as simple as, you know, you got some really bad news yesterday. You had a really shit day yesterday. You didn't take care of yourself yesterday. And you wake up and you can ask yourself, how do I feel today? Oh, there's a story that I should feel terrible today because of yesterday. But how are you actually feeling? Are you feeling good? You know? What's happening in your emotions when you're just present with yourself, you know? So I think part of how we protect ourselves against the what the outside world says we should be thinking and feeling is by training our attention to stay in our felt sense, inside of our emotions and our sensations and our impulses and our thoughts, and noticing what's real and true for us. And practice giving up our story, giving up the narrative to be with what is.